Welcome, brethren and sistren of the working life. Today we have come together here to inaugurate our newest member, Ed Blair.
Yes, thank you.
As you all know, we're a very secret, exclusive, anti-elite group with members all over the world. Our beliefs and our ideology are based on the simple idea of power to the working class. We live to work, we live as workers, and we live for the workers. We bleed for workers, and we bleed red. More importantly, we so proudly oppose our class enemies, the bourgeoisie, that we would never, ever allow any form of transgression, especially not an attempt by the dirty and rotten upper class to infiltrate our prestigious and illustrious organisation. So to join us and our prestigious group is Ed Blair, a long-term advocate and supporter of the working class. But let's hear the details straight from the horse's mouth.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Tar. Very nice to be here among you fellow workers, working class people. Yay, us. So, I'm Ed Blair. I'm originally from Kensington and Chelsea. In Glasgow. Kensington and Chelsea in Glasgow. Proper working class, innit?
But you sound very un-Scottish.
Oh yeah, I just don't have an accent. I was born better than them.
Oh, okay. So tell me, what did your parents do, Ed?
Do? Well, mostly just drinking and entertaining people. Papa is the first class hunter and shooter, so he'd take me fox hunting at least once a month.
Papa? Fox hunting?
Yeah, no, what I mean is that Pops and me, we'd shoot, badgers. We'd shoot badgers.
You just exposed yourself? You lying dirty scum.
No, please don't. I'm just trying to make a living in this world. I really am working class. It's just that I come from an aristocratic line. But really, I'm not like them. No, please, listen. It's not my fault if my parents are rich. I'm really not like them. I'm so much better than them. Not filthy and shallow and mean like them. I respect all people, no matter their income and background. I embrace everyone, guys.
No, well, I'm afraid this won't do. What a disgrace!
No, please, look, just listen to me.
Silence. We have an absolute no tolerance rule for the bourgeoisie. We are the proletariat, and we will die the proletariat.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Alright guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Mosaic with me, Jenny.
And me, Sarah.
Welcome back. Now, what's been going on in the world? I don't know if you over there in Britain, well, obviously you know, but I don't know if you care enough, but the royal engagement.
God, it's been everywhere.
It's everywhere. You just can't escape it.
You think it's like the only thing going on here? Like, that's
I
the
know,
only
exactly.
thing that's going on in Great Britain. But, yeah, no, it's literally taken over. It's massive.
It's taken over my bloody Facebook, which is so annoying. Like, there's no way of escaping any social media platform.
Yeah,
It's
all the
just
memes
crazy.
and stuff have been hilarious as well. Like, taking the piss out of Harry for being into, like, a woman that's not white and, like, being into seasoned food. And they're like, oh, yeah, Harry tasted a bit of seasoned food and now he's, like, gone to the other side. It's like, bloody hell,
my
just let it
God.
go. And then just,
I
like,
didn't realize.
stupid videos of people, like, reenacting, like, acting out the wedding, and Harry's doing these like African dances. I'm like, oh, just let it go, just drop it.
So what's sort of the general public over there? Do they care? Because over here, everyone cares. It's like they're so obsessed with the royal family.
Really?
It's mental.
Where does that
Everyone's
come
like,
from? Why is everyone like
I
that?
have no idea. Even when like Harry was here for the Invictus Games, everyone was like, "Oh my god, Harry's here! Oh my god, Harry's here!"
No way.
He stepped out with Meghan. He stepped. Oh my god, that's never happened. Like,
So is
chill,
that just
man. I'm
Harry,
sure even
or is it the
Queen
royal
doesn't-
family?
No, the whole royal family. Like, they're obsessed with Lady Di. I don't know what it is, but they just have this deep obsession with it, and I'm like, I'm sure even the Queen doesn't care as much as you lot care. Like,
Canadians are just so embracing of everything, and they
This
they
is
love
true.
like British culture, don't they, as well? To be fair,
Yeah.
like Lady Diana was really iconic. Like, she was loved by everyone. Everyone loved her because
Yeah,
she was like the rebel of the family.
which is now sort of continued by Harry, isn't it?
Yeah, she was like the spirit,
very
independent
street.
woman, and he was like that as well. Growing up, he was always the rebel, the one partying and getting into trouble and stuff.
The one wearing
So, yeah.
Nazi outfits.
What are your thoughts on it, with the wedding?
To be honest, I don't really give a flying fuck. Like, you know, there's just these two rich people getting married, and
Yeah.
I mean, I do appreciate the fact that she's the first sort of recognised, that she will be the first recognised royal family member that is of colour. I think we had one before this, but I don't think she was like that aspect of her identity was ever recognised.
And people also love to rinse out the rags to riches story. So everyone's like, oh, she came from nothing. But then other people are like, well, she comes from quite a rich part of LA. She was brought up in a really rich part of LA, apparently.
Oh, did she?
But she's Canadian, right? Or she lived in Canada. I don't really know
She
much
lives
about
in
her
Canada
background.
because I don't know much about her as well, but I used to watch the show that she's starred in, Suits. So
Suits.
they filmed that down here. So all the actors are practically living here.
Yeah.
But I think she is American, or I have no idea.
And then everyone was like going on about the fact that she's a divorcee and she was married for like 3
She
years.
is?
Yeah, she was married to like this
Oh,
director
fucking
guy.
hell.
But yeah, I'm not really that bothered. I mean,
There you go.
when I first heard the story, I was like, well done. Like, I was like, wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like a mixed race princess or whatever the hell she's going to be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in that respect, I was like, yeah, well done. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty good. Other than that, I'm just like, is it going to
I mean,
last?
to be fair, I'm more... Do you know what? I think the thing is, because we've had this with like Kate Middleton and Prince William, it's like, I'm just so sick of it. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But then I'm more excited about this couple because, you know, when Kate Middleton came in, they were like, oh, she's this commoner. She's not common. She's anything
I know, they're
but
not common at all. None of them are.
And it's like, yeah, so that approach of that story really, really annoyed me. So now they have it with Meghan. It's like, oh, you know, she's the first woman of colour. She's like an outspoken feminist and blah, blah, blah.
But she's
So it's like-
successful in her own right. Like, she's quite well off. She lives the Hollywood life. She has like her own business.
But
Like,
whatever she's achieved by herself, not because her daddy's got a business or whatever.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not dissing Kate Middleton. I'm sure she's a lovely girl, but
I think the reason they were saying she's like not, you know, high class enough is because her mother was
it's
an air
because she's not an
hostess.
aristocrat. Oh, was she?
Yeah, apparently. So they were like, yeah, she actually worked, and you know that makes you kind of a bit of a pauper or whatever.
Yeah.
So no, I did watch the
Good for
video of Harry and Meghan talking about how they met. So I was like,
Oh, did
oh,
you?
yeah, a friend of mine
How
sent
did
it
they
to me.
meet?
So they basically were set up by a mutual friend of theirs. And they just went to like this blind date. Apparently it was love at first sight, and they arranged to meet up straight away, like the next day. And then apparently they went to Botswana together. Like when
Fuck yeah.
yeah, I know, when they first
What, like
met
on the
each
second
other.
date?
Like the third date, and they spent time together
Bloody
alone,
hell.
and they were like, yeah, we were under the stars were aligned or whatever, and it was just so romantic, and we got to know each other intimately without the press being involved or whatever. So yeah, that was
So
sweet.
that's how the 1% dates. They on the third date they go to bloody Botswana. I go to Pret for the third date. They go to bloody Botswana. There you go.
I know, imagine, right? But I don't know if it's gonna last, to be honest. I don't know. I don't really get
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't get the feeling that it's gonna last for some reason.
I don't know if it's good. I don't know if their marriage is going to last. Like, I hope it does. Like, I wish them all the best. I do like out of the royal bunch, I like Harry the most. And you know, I
Yeah.
like Meghan as an actress. I don't follow her work, and I did like her in the show. But I don't think the royal family is going to last. Just in terms of like once the Queen says goodbye, I don't see the point of a royal family. Like I just don't. There's literally no purpose to them.
No, there isn't. It's just tradition, isn't it? Mostly, like, part of British culture, and that's it, really.
So I think rather than them getting Charles in and then William in and then fucking George in, I think it'd be best to just call it quits. And I think a lot of Brits do agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, definitely. We need a revolution. Take over. Get rid of the monarchy.
Exactly, and I think that perfectly sort of leads us into today's topic, where we talk about sort of class and sort of the top 1%, and how that affects our life. But I think, you know, we've sort of as a people, we've come to a point where we just kind of sick of.
Yeah, we're just fed up, and it's becoming so apparent, and it's so obvious, and people are dying because of it, because of classism. So yeah, it's a massive issue, especially in this day and age. So yeah, I mean, we've decided to talk about this theme because it's been quite present in the news through the Paradise Papers. And for anyone that doesn't know, there was a huge leak of financial documents that really kind of shed a light on the top end of the world of like offshore finances. So really rich people that were investing money in these like Caribbean islands, and just kind of like not paying any tax. Nothing that's illegal, but something that's pretty kind of greedy and just unnecessary.
And the Queen was one of them, wasn't she? She was found out to have an account there as well.
Yeah, so she invested like I think £10 million or something in the Cayman Islands, and apparently one of the retailers that she was investing money in was like abusing and exploiting vulnerable and poor people. So that was just like, oh, what are you doing? Like,
fits
honestly,
right into British history.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why we're talking about it.
And then obviously Grenfell Towers as well.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's such a blatant display of that dichotomy that you have between the poor and the rich. You know, especially Grenfell Tower being situated in one of the richest boroughs. I think it's one of the richest boroughs in the world. Didn't you say that once?
Yeah, it is. And it actually has the most bankers that live there. Can you believe it? Like, the most bankers in London.
I would have thought they live in Canary Wharf.
No, apparently there's they're all hiding out there. I've never like bumped into any but yeah, they're all living there secretly. But yeah, so it is coming out a lot, and I think honestly, in my opinion, I've said this before, we are literally regressing. It's the whole Trump thing, like all the ugliness is coming out, especially on social media. It's like it's more acceptable to be racist, classist, and just like lord over poor people, shame vulnerable people. And consequently, the divide is like more like defined and apparent, which it sucks. Wouldn't you say it's kind of more obvious nowadays than it was before?
Absolutely, because people feel like that wall of sort of anonymity that the internet provides you, they can just say anything without, you know, giving an explanation or without having to suffer the consequences. And that's why we have people like Donald Trump, who was, you know, even before the presidency, he was so successful and, you know,
unbelievably
sort of celebrated for being outspoken. That's why we have creatures like Piers Morgan and Katie Hopkins, and these are just really vile creatures. But
they've all come lurking
we sort
up.
of get that sort of entertainment from them, like, oh, look at them, they're so silly, but let's keep listening to them.
I know.
That sort of really sick.
It's ridiculous. So they're in the news every day, so they have a platform and they just absolutely like rinse it.
You know, there are still newspapers like The Sun and the Daily Mail who have headlines that are just absolutely disgusting and wrong. You know?
Oh yeah, like The Sun is the worst for poor shaming, if that's a thing. Like shaming people that are just really maybe just ignorant or just not as wealthy. It sucks, man. But okay, so the celebrities that were listed, the people that were basically using these tax havens, we've got Madonna, Nicole Kidman, Lewis Hamilton, Bono, Shakira.
But I found that so hilarious. Bono, who's like this charity super
he's
god.
Really into like charitable events and like.
I mean,
he's
wasn't he one of the people that
people.
invented or that sort of co-founded Life AIDS?
Yeah,
and he fucking goes and bloody. He's such a fucking. I could never stand him. So this just really.
I know, and Harvey Weinstein, obviously, because he's like a slobbery, gluttonous pig, and Yeah, and it was funny because I did
Slobbery,
read somewhere that he's like the depiction of grotesque like overindulgence, and that's so true. Just like swallowing up everything, money, women. Oh, disgusting. But yeah, anyways, so should we get started with, I was about to forget, the 3 and 3?
Yeah, what usually is our intro. We've sort of had an intro, but this will be sort of a second intro on certain topics. This will be a bit more personal. So yeah, do you want to start with your questions for me?
Yeah, okay.
And then I'll interrogate you.
So, have you ever been or felt affected or hindered by class or like, classism in particular?
I think I'm quite lucky in that. So I come from a working class background. My parents are working class, but due to their work and due to their effort, and because they put such a premium on education, I was able to go to like a top university and get a good job and all that stuff. So I've sort of made that transition from working class to myself now being sort of middle class, I suppose. Yeah. I think that like in today's world, like looking at sort of most liberal people, that's sort of the perfect path. I wasn't born middle class. I wasn't born with sort of like not even a silver spoon, like a.
But you had to work for it. You had to grasp for it.
Exactly.
And that's
I didn't do shit all. My parents did.
Right. Sorry, your parents. Yeah.
So I have like that sort of that humble background, but I'm still able to sort of enjoy a good conversation and sort of deal with certain social issues that maybe most poor people, they just don't have the time or the strength or the the energy to just discuss these things. So I think I just hit the perfect quota, if that makes sense.
So you've never felt like it was holding you back? Like
No. Maybe it's also because I'm German and class is not such a big deal in Germany, but even coming to the UK, living in the UK, it's never been an
it's
issue.
not, and especially in London, I've never felt like the lines are kind of blurred and everyone kind of, well, especially in my friendship groups, it's always been very mixed. So there's people from, parents that are like, bankers or whatever, and then there are people whose parents like, they kind of work in retail or whatever. Like it's very mixed, and it doesn't really matter, as it probably did before in friendship groups. But yeah,
I think except for like, unless you're like one of like the richest people in the city, it doesn't really matter.
Have you ever come across anyone that's snobby?
Yes, but not because of their money privilege, just because they're dicks. Okay,
fair enough.
Like digging deeper, you'll find out that they're just being snobbish because it's that sort of that mask that they wear. Because a lot of times I find like when I look at my friends that come from a richer background, you couldn't even tell that they do come from that background because they live
nice.
Sort of like a humble, normal life.
Yeah.
But then you meet sort of like people that come from a very working class, from dire conditions, but they sort of made it in the world. I'm not saying everyone, but some of them have such a chip on their shoulder, and they've got like such attitude of sort of having made it, and they don't have to worry about money, and they often tend to be much more snobbish. I've experienced that's according to my experience.
Yeah, don't they say there's like a massive difference between like new money and old money? Like new money, you can basically tell they're like they're like, oh well, I've got this, and like old money is always like a lot more laid back and elegant and classy about having money. And that's the same when it comes to talking about money. A lot of people don't like it because they find it vulgar, and I kind of agree. I'm like, I just don't like talking about money. It makes me a bit uncomfortable and weird.
I know, I'm the same, but like now being in Canada, they don't subscribe to that mentality.
That's really interesting. So what are conversations about money like?
Like even when you go in for a job interview, like you sort of negotiate, or when you're in a position and you want to raise, you negotiate it, which I think that would be unthinkable for most Brits. Sort of be like, oh no, I want, like, I don't know, 10k more or 5k more, or like, it's such...
We're very discreet.
Such a cheap thing to do and I'm the same. I do think it's very vulgar to talk about money, which is, it doesn't really make sense.
No, I know. I think there's always that element of secrecy. You don't want people to know how much you're on. You don't want people to know, how much money you have and what you can afford, what you can't. I don't know why. It's just...
It's also that thing, even if you just sat down with your manager and be like, oh, I want to have 5 more K by the end of the year. It's that thing of, I don't want you to think that I'm just doing it for the money, although you're just doing it for the money. Like, let's not even kid ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Who's passionate about their job, please? But anyways, okay, so number 2, is there a social class you would want to try or tip your toe into or be part of for a day? Okay, which one?
I would love to be like
Lady of the
like
house.
a Made in Chelsea gang.
Really? Oh my!
Like,
they have the best
be
lives.
amongst them as well. Sorry?
They have the best lives.
I don't know if they do.
Oh yeah, they do. Come on, they don't work. They're literally respected and loved by like everyone because of their money. They can.
But are they really respected, or is it just the money? Like, is there respect for them as people, or is it for the money?
Oh no, it's fake respect, obviously, but they don't know any better. Like, whatever, who cares if people fake respect you? It's like, whatever, I'm getting respected. But I don't know, I just feel like they literally have it all. They're like, they're really rich. They can literally go on holiday whenever they want. They don't need to answer to anyone. They literally like own the world. They can do anything. Literally, and they're young and they're good looking on top of that.
Yeah, well, if they're not, they can just easily get that fixed.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I just like to try it for that reason, just to sort of know what it's like to not have to worry about money at all, to be able to do anything you want, to get anything you want, not having to work for your money, and just living that sort of floating lifestyle.
Yeah, and they can literally live off like their little like stupid companies that they come up with. Like Jamie Lang has this like sweet company that's ridiculous. It's called like Sugar Kitten or something.
Like, what the hell is even...
They can just wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I feel like inventing like a 10-wheel bike, and then they just like
they get
make
like
it happen.
scientists in, and
But yeah, good for them. They've got the world at their fingers. But okay, number 3. If you were a millionaire, would you share out any of your riches with strangers?
When you say strangers, do you mean like organisations?
With
Like
anyone at all. So like a big bulk of money to
I
charity or whatever.
Okay, so what I would do if I were to like hit the lottery, one thing I would do is I'd sort of like buy a house for myself, I'd buy a house for like my parents, sort of take care of like friends and family. Mm-hmm. But as far as organisations go, I'm not the biggest fan of charity organisations, at least not all of them.
Really?
Because a lot of the times they're just treating the symptom and they're not actually looking at the problem.
Yeah, but what if it's like, you know, like hand-to-hand kind of charity? So like you go down the streets and you like give out money. Would you ever do that? Like personally give out money? Okay, really?
No,
okay.
No, I would I would not. Like, I might invest in like an actual really good charity where I see they, you know, they do bring in change. They do, you know, they do work for the community. They're based in the community. Then I would, you know, give to those certain organisations. But I wouldn't just randomly be like, just passing down money. Like, I might like set up like a soup kitchen or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like facilities
like
for
rehab.
people, you know, where especially like women who live on the street can sort of, you know, they can shower and just stay.
Oh, that's nice. I've always thought that like period pads and toiletries should be free. Like that, I think we've spoken about this before, but especially for homeless people. That
like,
kind of stuff should be given out, I think.
I've seen like so many documentaries in there, and it's so harrowing. They use like leaves and newspapers, and
horrible.
Like, you know, people in the third world don't have to deal with the amount of struggle people here in the apparent first world.
I know, isn't it shocking? But I was asking that because, I mean, we're looking at you know, all these celebrities, politicians, blah blah blah, that have been investing money into these tax havens or whatever. So if you were in their position, what would you do with all that extra cash? Would you do the same to save your riches, or would you actually give out your money? Because that is part of the problem, isn't it? Kind of like hoarding this money, not really sharing your wealth, and just being really greedy. So would that be something that you'd think about, especially, you know, not coming from a background of millionaires? Would you?
Yeah. I guess I'd just be
compassion.
really sensible about it, because that's something that I've learned from my mum, to just like be really, really sensible. So I probably take quite a good amount of the money just as like a safety pouch for me in case something happens, in case
in
shit
the
hits
bunker.
the fan. Just to put like a certain amount into investment, in case there's like an accident and blah blah, and I need some money, whatever. All my belongings burn down. I need to sort of build everything from scratch.
Yeah.
But I think the rest I'd be happy to sort of share with sensible organisations. But I wouldn't just go down and share it with anyone.
Just throw out cash like you're at a strip club.
Yeah, just like riding like a limo and just like letting some money rain. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I think I would definitely try and. Oh, you say that though, but then when you get money, it kind of gets to your head, and you're like, "But why? Because I could spend it on like a diamond bracelet." You totally soak in that whole mentality.
Would you?
I think money does change you.
It does change, yeah.
I think a lot of money.
But do you think it would change you to the extent that you will want to buy something that you didn't care? Like, I don't care about cars or, like diamond rings and all that shit. Do you think people would then, it would change them to the extent that you would then get like 5 Lamborghinis and get like a whole outfit made out of diamonds?
Yeah.
Do you think it would change?
I think it would change people. Because, when you have all this excess money, you're just kind of like, okay, well, I could either spend it on that, or I could just kind of secure the legacy. That's what a lot of people are trying to do as well, like buying like Picasso pictures and like like all these cars and all these expensive things, because they're like, I can leave it to my family, and they want to kind of really retain that money. But yeah, I don't know, because I do see a lot of things that happen, and I'm like, you know what, if I was rich I would help out, but then if I was, would I really? I don't know, probably not. Probably keep it in the family.
But I think it also depends on who you surround yourself with. Like, I think if as soon as the money hits you, you sort of move to Chelsea and start hanging out with these people. Yes, it will affect you, because you will feel like, oh, I have to keep up with these people.
That's true.
I have to be just as cool with them. But if I just hang out with the bumps that I hang out with now, I'm not gonna go like buy all these crazy things, because they would never understand it.
Yeah, they'd be like, look at this extravagant
Jenny,
bitch.
what the fuck are you doing? Like, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they just sort of keep me grounded, and I think that'd be...
I just pictured you like rolling up with this fox around your neck and like diamond pear-shaped earrings.
Still alive.
Yeah. Fox fur and just like these leather gloves and like, I couldn't
They
see
get
you
like
doing
plastic
that.
surgery and all that shit.
But wouldn't that be nuts if one of us literally like won the lottery? How nuts would that be? Like, I don't know, would we change? Would we still... You'd have to help the podcast,
I don't
okay?
think we would...
Make sure, okay, we need to make a pact right now. If it happens, we're investing like at least 50,000 on the podcast. Getting
50,000?
Up
That's
and going.
all you have. If you win 10 million, all you have for this podcast is 50,000. Fuck you. I think the two of us, I can only speak for the two of us, but I think we would be fine if we hit the lottery, because we both come from humble backgrounds. We both have family that is very sort of like, we don't take no bullshit. So if you like start like showing attitude towards your mum or your dad, I'm sure they'd give you a proper telling off, and same for me as well.
Yeah, no,
and your friends would do. So I don't think we are in danger of like becoming big-headed and becoming like a second.
You always hear those like, oh god, you always hear those rappers though, when they're rapping, they're like, oh, I don't have the same friends that I used to have. Like, a lot of them are jealous, a lot of them are like, I kind of left them behind in my dust and da-da-da. You probably would get that, a lot of jealousy, like becoming rich or famous or whatever.
But I think that's also because their attitude, like, when you are, I think the rap industry is completely different, because you live, your end goal is obviously it is to create art and to to get that message across, whatever you have. But I think a lot of the times for rappers, it's about that lifestyle. It's about popping the champagne and having all these girls and having that luxury life. So that's what they strive towards to. So once they get it, they completely dwell in it and they like completely emerge into that lifestyle. Exactly. Whereas for us, it's never been about money. So I think that there's that difference of just your mindset. All right. So my questions. First one: when or how was your first contact with class? Like your first experience with that concept?
I'd have to say probably back in primary school. So
that early?
Yeah, no,
Jesus.
probably around year 5 or year 6. So We were
So
about...
I was like 10.
Yeah, like 10, 9. But even like back then, I remember having an attitude and being quite like, I don't know, I was quite a saucy little kid, just very like alert, very quite rude, have an attitude. Yeah, of course. So yeah, you know how kids can be like absolutely brutal. So we're all at a birthday party at this kid's house, and she was like obviously very rich, had a massive garden, like a few floors, whatever. And there were kids that clearly had a complex about how rich or poor their parents were. So we were just all sitting in a circle, and they were like, oh, well, you know, my house is bigger, I've got more floors, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so back then I was like, wow, okay, this is a thing. So, you know, if your parents aren't making as much, which is shit, because it's like, you know, you're kind of given what your parents are kind of brought up with. So
yeah, no, that's true.
As a kid, especially, you can't really, you know, climb out of your class or whatever. Yeah, so that was back then.
Oh my God, that's so horrible that you'd have like that early that you're so aware of class and that difference between rich and poor.
So yeah, so that's not something you see in Germany, is it?
No. So for me, the first time that So in Germany, you don't really have that concept of class. Mm-hmm. One thing I was always aware of is the concept of caste, which I suppose is very similar, like the South Asian concept of caste.
Okay.
But, you know, as far as class goes, you just don't have that mentality in Germany. It just never comes up to discussion whether you're rich or you're poor.
I do like that.
You know,
I do like that.
It's, you know, because... You go to because we don't have these, you know, boroughs that are richer than other boroughs, and you know we've got like really, of course we've got poor areas like certain buildings or whatever, but it's not like this school is only frequented by sort of bankers' kids and all that stuff. There isn't that clear divide between that.
So do people kind of look down on people that just, you know, show off a lot and it just, you know, that talk about social class.
It just doesn't happen. Like in my circle, in my area, in my high school, that's never been done. So you've got kids whose parents are sort of, you know, rubbish bin collectors, and you've got parents who work for like, you know, Fortune 500 companies. And they just all rub shoulders together. Like there isn't that, oh my God, he's upper class. I don't dare look him in the eyes.
It sounds like a very European thing, definitely, because like as I was saying about the Middle East, they're like new money and they want to really show off about it, don't they? They can't believe that they've made all this oil money, but in Europe it's very much like... Yeah, I'm sure
your experience in Dubai was completely different to your experience in...
Oh God, yeah. No, my mum used to work at a school, and a lot of the kids were always showing off about the cars that their parents had, and this, it was bad in Dubai. Like,
sound like brats.
Dubai society is based on that, just being really superficial and money, and like it's just a big rat race competition about who's making more money, which is ridiculous. But you know, in Europe we're more elegant than that. We like culture, and you know, we seem to not be faced with it because we just see it as inelegant. So not really our thing. But
it's sort of the third well, not the third world. I don't think Dubai would be considered the third world, but sort of like the East. They have like this massive chip on their shoulder about being poor or being regarded as poor. So whenever they do make it, they make sure they tell you and they show you in every way possible. They've got the clothes, they've got the jewelry, they've got the cars, they've got the houses and the servants, and it's like, you know, just chill.
Yeah, I have heard that about India especially, that they like to host all these events to, you know, let it be known that they're doing really well.
Like over here, you just by looking at a person, you can't really tell, or by, you know, spending time with them, working with them, you can't really tell what their background is. Whereas in India, if you talk to someone and spend like a decent amount of time with them, you will know.
Really?
You will absolutely know where they come from a wealthy background or not, because they will show you.
That's nuts.
It's just that it's not even necessarily always they rub it in your face, but it's just certain mannerisms and things. Like I find that especially with like our parents' generation more than our generation, that they just love showing off, and they have this I mean, it's okay to love money and to celebrate how far you've made it, but there's also a lot of resentment towards the poor, and there's a lot of disrespect towards the poor, which I find very, very disgusting.
That's horrible. horrible. It's not their fault. Well, most of the time, it's just down to circumstance
exactly.
and stuff. But we have that in Sudan. We have tribal things going on where, you know, if you're from a different tribe, you're, you know, not regarded as well as the other tribes that are like ranked a lot higher, or from, you know, families that are better known. So we have that a lot.
Yeah. Well, we've got class in South Asia these days, and we've got caste as well. So it's like a double threat, which is just doubly disgusting. But yeah,
It's horrible.
there you go. All right, time for my second question. Do you think that in our children's generation, so like, you know, like 30 years from now, we will have the same, or they will have the same class problem that we have now? Do you think we will be able to get rid of that concept of class or caste or whatnot?
I don't know. I mean, I look at 30 years and I'm like, that doesn't seem like much. But then I'm like, my God, has a lot changed in the space of like a year.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's going to happen to the power structures. Honestly, like anything could happen.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, you know what, it will probably always exist just because it's convenient to those who create it, and like the management and balance of wealth is convenient to so many people. Why would they want to change it? Everyone's comfortable with it. I mean, unless we have like a communist kind of society and like everyone's just kind of like, you know, there's no hierarchy and everyone's just, but then there's flaws in that as well. I don't know. I mean, what is the actual ideal class structure? Because like I haven't known any different. What is better than what we have at the moment? What's the alternative? What does a classless society look like?
Well, according to Marx, it's just a society where you don't have the rich and the poor. There is no divide. We just all work towards sort of the common good of the people in a society.
But put into practice, what would that look like in London?
Well, you just wouldn't get that dichotomy in pay even, where, you know, the bankers earn like, you know, 6 figures and the guy working at Tesco gets like minimum wage.
Imagine if
So
we all got
suppose,
paid the same. That would be so weird.
Well, maybe not paid the same, but just paid accordingly, because there's no reason why someone at Tesco who's got such a shitty job, working with shitty people and serving them all the time, should get paid so little, whereas bankers and like CEOs who do fuck all during their day get paid so much. But I don't know if that would work out realistically, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, because if we look at our parents, just what I said earlier, like our parents' generation, they're so obsessed with just showing off and just making sure everyone knows that they're richer. Well, I think we've evolved to a stage where now we just it's not a big deal anymore. Like people don't talk about money that blatantly. So maybe in our children's generation, it will even further. And they maybe get rid of the concept. I don't know. But then can you have a society without class, without that sort of...
I know. What would society
divide?
crumble? What would it be better off? I don't know. Never seen anything different.
Because even if the working class were to overthrow the upper class, you will always have these people that will put themselves in a leader position, that will put themselves into that ruling position. So I don't think it's feasible with human nature that you'd have that sort of classless society. It won't go for long, will it?
You know what's exactly. You know what's interesting? I just remembered something that was kind of funny. So I went to kind of like a mix of schools. So I went to quite a good primary school, and then because I moved around quite a lot, and then I went to quite a ghetto secondary school. And then I went to like a private school in Dubai. So I've had quite a mix of like just different experiences and classes and stuff. And I remember going to like at the ghetto school, it was kind of like cool to be broke. Everyone saying like, oh, I'm broke was just like a cool thing. And even in London, actually, you know, a lot of people don't mind saying, oh, I'm broke at the moment, can't go out. You wouldn't dream of anyone saying that in Dubai. And I did find that quite interesting. Like the difference is so massive. Like some people find it actually, you know, if you're not broke, you're kind of like not one of us. And it was just interesting that it's in some kind of like groups, it's kind of cool to be broke and not be, you know, affluent or whatever. So I don't know what it will look like in 30 years. Maybe that will take over and that will be like the main attitude to money. What do you reckon?
I think it depends on just the environment that you live in, and I don't think that we will ever live in the same environment all over the world. There will always be areas that are richer and there it's cool to be rich, and there will always be areas that are poorer, and in those areas you are a bit more suspicious of money and where that comes from, and that, you know, the attitude that you bring along with that money. So I don't know. On paper, I think, you know, that sort of communist, classless society does look good, but I don't think it is very feasible, just with us humans being just a greedy, gluttonous bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
But now for my last question. Do you think there is a good kind of classism? Do you think there's anything redeemable about classism?
Interesting. No, because I mean, what is classism? It's prejudice towards people, you know, belonging to a different social class. It's wrong, really, and it makes people think that they're superior. You know, people who have shitty morals and they were just born into money, they feel like they can look down their nose at people, and that's not fair. Sometimes it's the cards that you're dealt in life. Why should you be treated differently because of that? So no, I don't think it's there's anything redeemable about it. What about you? What do you reckon?
Yeah, same here. Like, one thing I did end up thinking about was how, you know, people who do have things, I think we've changed. If you compare it to sort of like 50 years ago, you were born into a certain class. So if you're born into money, you had it lucky. If not, you're fucked. I think these days it's changed a bit more because it's easier for you to make money. It's easier for you to enter that class, to buy that class with money. So I think that's changed. And along with that, I just think that one good thing about people with money is that they get education, right?
Yes.
Money provides you with education these days. It's sad, but it's true. If you've got money, you can get good education. So that is something that's good. But then a lot of time, I also think that they're not using that education to actually educate themselves on the world and on other people. They're just using it to further their own agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, yeah, I agree, there's nothing redeemable about classism, no. Well, there you go. So guys, if you were in doubt, this is definitely going to be one of our more upbeat episodes. We're very positive about the world and society and human beings in general.
God, what have we done? What have we done?
What a time to be fucking alive, isn't it?
No, it's a very sensitive topic. It is, and especially
it is.
Like during my life, I have felt it differently in like different ways. You know, throughout, you know, going through different schools as well, and you do feel it more in the education system, especially in Britain. So, you know, as you said before, if you're, you know, a lot more affluent, you kind of buy your way into elitism. So, and you feel that a lot as a kid. So, you know, you have like, they say it's really entrenched in like the whole Eton and Oxford thing, and kids feel pressure from that, and it sucks because it's like you're basically buying yourself into like being central to, you know, power and voices. You know, if you go to Oxford, you'll definitely have a career in politics or be a famous actor or writer or whatever. And that's something I really don't like about.
I think if I had moved to the UK for work and just entered the workforce straight away without university, without me being in contact with university and student life and that sort of politics that comes along with, I don't think I would have been as aware of class as I am now.
Okay.
Because, you know, obviously entering such a university such as Exeter, which is, you know, the whole politics about class at the university is so prevalent, and everyone talks about it. You just can't escape it, you know. And you know, you see these kids, and you're like, oh, he went to Oxford. Oh, he's such a snobbish little shit. And it just comes along with the rhetoric, you know.
It's the whole league table thing as well. Like, I felt so pressured going to uni. I was like, oh crap, like, I'd want to go to one of the top 50s or whatever. My brother's really like that. I'm less like that. But he really cared about going to a uni that was really good for his course, and it looked really good on his CV and blah, 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 blah. And maybe, younger generations are feeling that more just because we have more evidence now of what it can, you know, allow you. So obviously people don't normally talk about the link between race and class. And I think that's something that came up with Grenfell as well, because they were like, the majority of people that died were from BME backgrounds, so black ethnic minority backgrounds. So basically, I looked at some studies and they showed that while 20% of white people are low income, this number obviously increases for ethnic minorities across the board. So BME people are twice as likely to be low income than white people. And why is that? But then obviously if you look at like sociology, they always teach you that a lot of ethnic minority people are kind of, you know, they're labelled. There's like the whole self-fulfilling prophecy. So they're kind of like processed to fail or like not do as well, given kind of like a low self-esteem. And also like vilifying like single mums and people going to job centres. That's something that we do a lot in Britain.
Yeah. Just sort of look down your nose on people that are sort of looking for help.
Is that right to do though? Because I don't know, a lot of people say
look down on them?
No, not look down on them, but just be like, oh well, they should be doing better. Because a lot of people think we shouldn't be enabling, you know, laziness or
no, I think that's bullshit. Because you don't
like don't glamorise laziness and unemployment.
No, they don't. They just give you a leg up. Like it's. I mean, I know people that take sort of benefits just because they're fucking lazy, but then that's not people of colour. That's.
You know what? Being a single mum is so freaking hard as well. Like, unbelievably hard. Imagine having a crying baby constantly. Like, you're bound to get depressed.
Yeah.
And just, like, so tired doing that on your own. And then on top of that, having to look for a job and having to support the kid on your own. It's scary as hell, man.
I hate this So, for those who might not know, I'm brown, okay? So, I'm an ethnic minority myself, and so is my family. Like, my entire family is brown. We're just a bunch of brown people, okay? So, we are the victim in this quite often. Mm-hmm. But then, instead of, like, my family feeling bad and feeling sympathy for other people of colour, what they do is they bring them further down, and it's like, oh, look at these black people doing this. Oh, you can't trust black people. Oh, you can't. I'm
really?
Like, you fucking idiots! Like, why would you try to bring out people who are on your same side? Like, what, you think white people give a shit about you or them? Like, they don't give a shit about either of us. So just, how about we help each other? And it's that thing of, like when I move in with someone or next to someone, it's like, oh, is there any black people in the neighbourhood? What the fuck are you even talking about? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, every black person is a criminal. If you call someone a criminal from day, and if you give them no chances,
it's the whole
no
labelling
proper access
thing,
to education, of course they're going to end up bloody being a criminal. Like,
they're going to achieve less. It's just gonna, there's always going to be like doubt and like trust problems between races, and then just, you know, the stereotypes and the prejudice, and it's just not healthy at all. And like, everyone does it. There's mistrust, and
it's like shit. Like, oh, they all, you know, live in those areas and they just all do with drugs. Well, you're not happy when they come into your area, so they're gonna fucking stay in that area, aren't they? If you welcome, they would live in your area. They would make good money and live a decent life. But no, you don't want them. So.
I know, it's so frustrating.
I just had to
yeah. No, it does happen a lot. It's horrible, isn't it? It's just we make it worse. We do definitely make it worse.
We do, and it's like we're not seeing that we're adding fuel to the fire and making things worse by, you know, making enemies of ourselves. So, you know, our brethren. It's just horrible.
So how do we combat class divide? How do we, you know, I live in Britain, you live in Canada, like, what can we do to kind of combat that?
Do you know what? I think the best point is, the best starting point is education. Just educate your friends, educate your colleagues, educate your parents and uncles and your ignorant aunties. Just be like, you know what, why are you being so negative and so disrespectful towards, you know, people of colour, poorer people? Like, it's not their fault. They weren't given the access that you were given. They weren't, you know, they didn't grow up with the same privilege that you did grow up. So they're not in the same position as you are. You know, there's that talk of, you know, poor people are poor because they're lazy. No, they're not. They probably work twice as hard as you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
For what for, you know, half of what you have.
It's horrible, and it's just getting worse in Britain as well with the NHS and like slowly like everything going private. It's ridiculous for people who work so hard. They're literally on peanuts, and it's so unfair and it's horrible. The whole system is getting worse.
I think we just really lack empathy, and I think that's we lack it less and less. If that makes sense.
Definitely.
That's probably not grammatically correct, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, of course.
People are just so obsessed with their own life and, you know, getting ahead of their own life. And I respect that. You know, it's important to take care of you. It's important to take care of your loved ones and, you know, your close environment. But it won't hurt you to... I mean, you don't have to help other people, but at least try to understand where they're coming from.
Definitely.
Try to put yourself in their shoes.
And that leads to a lot of, like, marginalisation. So that reminds me of, remember the Riz Ahmed video on diversity? So he was just saying that, you know, a lot of people, they want to feel like the heroes in the British narrative. So because they don't, they'll go somewhere where they are, you know, they're more included in the narrative, and then that creates things like terrorism and ISIS, because they you know, they want to go somewhere where they feel part of life and like included. And
exactly, criminality. That's exactly it. You know, the moment that you start labeling them as certain things, they will take that on, because I think people forget how impressionable people are throughout all ages. You know, if you say, oh, you know, these Muslims, they're all terrorists, oh, these blacks, they're all criminals, it does affect them, you know, and if they hear that narrative from a young age, they will,
of course, it's going to affect you.
It's look for a group.
Yeah. It's like affirmations, isn't it? And that self-fulfilling prophecy. If people are just constantly labelling you and saying, oh God, scum, whatever, useless, it's just going to come into fruition, which sucks. What's your opinion of gentrification?
What, you mean like Shoreditch and shit?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm liberal, okay? That's how I would label myself if I were to label myself. But I do think there is a lot of... I don't want to call it evil. I think evil might be too big a word. But I think liberals have quite a hand to play in this. Just in terms of, like... It's, again, just a lack of understanding, just a lack of education. You know, it's people's... It's these, you know, these nouveau rich kids that think they're so giving and so open-minded. Yeah.
I mean, there's the argument that it brings businesses to like decrepit neighborhoods, but then a lot of people are like, well, it has like whitewashing effects, and it's like a form of social cleansing, and it's quite racist as well. It's taking away the culture and history of the area and making it more affordable to the rich.
Exactly. You're not making it affordable to the people that live in that community. You're just bringing in people from other rich areas to this area and just trying to make it rich, whereas the community that actually is in that place suffers the most.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy, like, you know, like the cute little coffee shops and like, yeah, like I do like, I'm not gonna lie and say that I don't kind of like I'm not like boycotting gentrification, because there are aspects of it that are, you know, kind of like fun or whatever, but my area is definitely a victim of like gentrification since Westfield, and like it kind of went from being like a mainly rough kind of impoverished area, but like very, you know, culturally rich, and now it's like completely changed, and like the houses are really expensive. Everyone just comes here for Westfield, and they're building like loads of cinemas and restaurants around it. Like before there was like a massive like green area, now they're knocking all of that down. They've got buildings around it, turning it into like residential luxury apartments, and it feels kind of claustrophobic. I'm quite sentimental, so I like the old buildings and memories, and I'd hate for it to become like Dubai, like no history and just like brand new shiny cosmopolitan shit.
God, you can't even see the old landmarks in London anymore. Like they're covered up by like the fucking shard.
I know.
Like yeah, it's horrible because they sort of take the culture that's inherent in that community originally, and they try to sort of market it towards the richer people, to sort of lure them in, and then it just becomes their playground. And the community that used to reside there just has to sort of watch on the sidelines and gets pushed to the sidelines, and they just have to like be bystanders. They can't afford to play the game because it's just not affordable anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, completely not. I don't really like. I'm not a fan. But I do like the restaurants and coffee shops sometimes. Okay, sometimes.
Hypocrite.
Yeah. I am. I bloody well am.
You are part of the problem. You're part of what's wrong with this world, Sarah. Shame on you.
Shut up! I've seen her in Shoreditch. But okay, so I think we spoke about this in the intro. So a bit more about like money and us, and like class complex and whatever. So your relationships with class and money and blah blah blah, does class bother you when you're dating or thinking about marriage?
Yeah, it does.
Okay,
I
tell
could
us.
not be with someone who comes from a rich background.
Really?
I couldn't.
Interesting. Okay, why not?
No. Like, if he made it himself through work, like a self-starter, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if he comes from, like, his dad's rich and he just sort of lives off that money, no.
Okay,
Fuck off.
I agree.
No.
I agree.
No.
I
Because
agree.
also you have different references to life. Your life experience will be so vastly different. And I think that's quite important to me, because certain struggles that I have, or rather that my parents had, you just would not understand
relate,
any of that.
That's funny because
I don't know.
I mean, that person that I dated that was like, just had no real issues in their life.
Yeah. Just
completely like from a cotton wool background, and like always had everything provided for them and blah, blah, blah. And at first you can kind of hide those things, when you're starting to get to know someone. It's like, oh, they're really lovely, and they show you this side of them that's not really real. And then you start to get to know them and you're like, you're actually pretty selfish. You don't really have much compassion. And I was thinking, is that something to do with class, the way he was brought up? And
Absolutely. It's those kind of people that spurt out comments like, oh, I don't see colour. Fuck off.
Yeah.
You don't see colour because you live in a privileged, you because your upbringing is so privileged that you never had to worry about these people and, put yourselves into their shoes.
And then like minor problems are like massive problems to them, and it's like, darling, just no. Just go outside.
Because they don't have actual real problems, so like, not be able to sort of, I don't know, afford the newest collection of Armani. It's like, oh my god, how will I ever survive? And it's like,
I think when it comes to marriage, like in British culture, it's like money isn't, marriage isn't much of a status symbol. So it's not really that much of a massive big deal when people like, they're not like, oh, I need to marry someone that's socially on my level or whatever. So I've never really looked at that as a big deal. But for me, I don't see myself marrying anyone who's thick. So I'm like, if that
who's
means
thick? Well, like, physically fat?
No,
like mentally.
Yeah. And if that means, level of education or, mental capacity, then, so be it. Like if it's like, someone who's... That is pretty
just
important
someone
to me.
who's vogue.
Yeah.
Someone who knows what's going on. I mean, they don't have to be one of those
Does
people
uni
suffering,
matter?
but at least... Sorry?
Does uni matter? So does it matter if they went to uni or not for you?
No.
Okay.
As long as you're doing something with your life now and are, I don't really mind. Don't really give a
because it
shit.
doesn't
I mean,
always
high
equate
school,
to
you should have
intelligence.
finished high school.
Yeah.
Because having gone to university does not mean that you're intelligent, trust me. I know some proper
For sure.
that have gone to really good universities and stuff. So no, I don't... Yeah, also in Germany, again, you don't have... Not everyone has gone to university. There's quite a lot of people who just did like apprenticeships and, went on to make some really good money. So it's no.
Yeah, exactly. And then and you kind of take it upon yourself to use the resources around you. So, a lot of people go to uni but they don't read much, or they go to uni and they watch trash TV, and like it's all kind of like about balance, isn't it? Whether you want to educate yourself. Yeah, kind of. Whether you want to educate yourself or not, or open your eyes to things, it's up to you.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's something for me like that I'd look at, not really particularly class, but education level. Like,
I did say for jokes that I do want to marry rich, so I don't have to worry about anything. But I don't really want to marry rich because all the shit that comes with it as well. Like, you have to fit into that society, and I sure as hell do not fit into an elegant society. Like, I mean, have you met?
I know. Imagine you oaf. Imagine meeting the parents though. I don't know. I'd be really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
like,
am I not
if he
good
doesn't
enough?
care about the fact that I come from a working class family, I'm sure as hell that his parents are going to care.
Yeah.
And I'm not having anyone talk badly about my upbringing. Like, I will smash you.
Yeah, fuck kissing ass. I'm not doing that.
I don't. It's just too much shitty responsibility that comes with money. I'd rather just live with the means that I'm provided and just live like a humble life. I think that's much more chilled.
Johnny the hobo. Yeah. We're talking about not vilifying poor people, and I'm out here calling people hobos. Bloody hell.
No, you're calling me a hobo not for money, but because of my lifestyle, which is fair enough.
Your
I get
hygiene
that,
standards.
I get that.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Okay, so what else? Anything else to cover?
Do you so we talked about sort of tribe. You mentioned tribes in Sudan. So is caste a big issue in Sudan as well?
Yeah, definitely. So
more than money, what kind of money you have or how much money you have, it's more of what family you come from.
Yeah, it's more
what
of like
area of Sudan you come from.
Exactly, it's more of a bloodline thing. So, what kind of tribe you come from? If you're like originally, if you have like Arab heritage, whether you're from south of Sudan, and it has a lot to do with race as well. How we spoke about colorism and stuff like that. That comes into play as well. So yeah, I mean, my tribe, God cringe, is quite a respected tribe in Sudan. So that was funny going to Sudan because it was like, oh, you get all these things, like you go to shops and people are like they really help you, and they're like, oh, you're from that tribe, blah blah blah, and they really open up to you
because you're so fair.
No. Everyone kind of knows everyone's tribe. It's quite a tight-knit community. Everyone talks quite a lot.
Oh, right.
So yeah, no, that was something that was like, oh wow, this is pretty interesting. In London, like no one gives a shit about me. They're like, who the hell is this?
You're the
bloody
princess over there.
I was the queen of Sheba, mate.
That's as close to royalty as you're ever gonna get.
In the depths of Africa, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's my experience.
It's strange. Well, it made me laugh when you say that. Your tribe is one of the ones that is more respected, one of the most respected ones in Sudan, because you don't have tribes, but you have caste system in South Asia, and my parents or my family, they quite pride themselves on being like from like one of the upper classes, upper castes, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, this is probably bullshit. Who's gonna verify that? We're probably from a low class, and you're just hyping this shit up. Because everyone I ever talk to, they're like, oh yeah, we're like one of the upper castes. Like, really? Funny how all of you fuckers are from that upper caste, and none of you shitheads are from the lower caste. But yeah.
But it's interesting because I'd like to. Would you, if it was like, if you had that in Canada, would you take advantage of it? If they were like, oh, you're from that tribe, so we're going to give you this job, or we're going to give you like, we're going to up your salary. Would you take advantage of it if you could?
Let me put that diplomatically. I would take advantage of it, but I would then use my position to further people that are further down below.
Oh yeah,
is that a good diplomatic
answer?
Oh
yeah, good enough. Whatever.
But no, when I was like back in Sri Lanka, there is that sort of oh, they're their kids. Oh, you come from that family. Oh yeah, come in. It's like,
really.
Why are you kissing ass? You're like instantly suspicious of that. But no, it's a big deal. Is that a big deal for your dad in terms of like, obviously you're not getting into an arranged marriage, but if you were to come out with a Sudanese boy, is that something where your dad would be like, he'd look at that boy's tribe?
No, I don't know, because you have to bear in mind that my dad's like lived in Europe for most of his adult life. Like he moved to Italy when he was like 18. So him, true. So for him, it's like, I don't think he would be massively bothered. I don't think so. So I reckon, that would be fine, really. Like, I don't think he would care. It's mainly about what the guy's like. But I think maybe back in Sudan, like, my uncles and aunties would be like, oh, he's from that tribe, and da-da-da, like, give my dad, like, the deets on, the background information. And I don't know, maybe that might influence it, but I don't think my dad really cares that much. Yeah.
That's good.
What about your parents?
Dad definitely my especially my dad is very much into like, oh, he's from that caste, oh, he's from that caste.
Really?
I'm like, oh god, fucking shut up. Like I can't stand it when people talk about. It just makes me so cringe because I've seen the damage it can do.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is how it works in Sudan. I don't think it's that aggressive, but in South Asia, it's the caste is so clear cut, and it's a clear hierarchy where it goes, the furthest down it goes, they are called the untouchables, and you don't touch them. It's literally do not touch these people because they come from. So basically, just to give you sort of a background of how caste system works, I'm not a specialist in it, but the way it's sort of basically structured is the top caste is sort of the priest caste. And then further down, I think, so the second caste, as it were, are the farmers, which supposedly I am, but I doubt that shit. And then sort of it goes down and down and down, and the bottom is cleaners. So it's people who sort of clean the
So it's according to like sectors.
Exactly.
Kind of.
That's how
I didn't know that.
That's how that began. So obviously now in the 21st century, someone who comes from that bottom caste is not going to work in the sewage system. He's probably gone to university and got a good job.
These are really old old rules. Damn, okay.
This goes like go back to like fucking the old ages, the Stone Age. So that's what's really annoying, because you can't say, oh, this person, he comes from a low caste, he doesn't have the education. No, he probably does have the education, and most people in the upper class, they do not have that education. I know some of you fuckheads, and you are stupid.
That's nuts. Like, you're restricted to basically something your ancestors did years ago that has nothing to do with your character or the kind of person you are today.
Oh,
that's
no,
nuts.
it doesn't.
That's absolutely nuts.
It does not at all.
Wow, I didn't know that, because I don't know much about the caste system. Obviously, I know about the Untouchables and like a bit about Mother Teresa. Like, that's my knowledge of it, but not how engraved it is, and like how I can't believe it's so old fashioned and just so archaic. Bloody hell.
Well, it's got a lot of common with classism as well, and just in terms of what kind of jobs you do and where you stand in society. But obviously, it's changed now.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, an offspring, a child of someone who comes from the lowest class doesn't have to have a shitty job. He can be, he can have the education and be a CEO or whatever, but it's just archaic is what it is.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why you should get rid of it.
Definitely. Get rid of the caste system, people.
Down with the caste system, man. So, of course, talking about classism, and talking about Grenfell, talking about Paradise Papers, one of the things that comes to mind, especially, looking at the news now, is the cases, we mentioned Harvey Weinstein, is the whole new allegations that come out. And I think that has a lot to do with power and with class as well. For sure. If you look at these people, and also with race, if you look at these people that have been accused, they do it because they come from a position of power over their victims.
Yeah, it's kind of like a monetary exchange, but with sex.
Exactly.
Which sucks, because it's just taking advantage of that completely.
And, not just that they've been able to do this and take advantage of their victims, but also that they were protected by their own community, by that industry. Because you can't tell me that Hollywood didn't know. It wasn't pretty much an open secret that Harvey Weinstein,
of course,
was a predator. Like,
so many other people as well. So many other directors that are still doing it.
Exactly, but the industry still protects them because they have that massive amount of power and money that they just hush it up for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if someone, if the thing that Harvey Weinstein did, if that had been done by someone who's a person of color and who's infinitely poorer, the consequences would have been massively different.
Of course. That reminds me of the whole Amanda Knox thing. It reminds me of the whole Amanda Knox case.
How so?
Well, the guy that's been imprisoned is like, obviously it's not really, it's kind of, it's just to do purely with race. Like, the guy that's imprisoned for the crimes is like a lot poorer. He's black, and in Italy they're very racist as well. So he got like years for the girl's murder, but Amanda and the other guy, they're like scot-free. But yeah, just
fuck off.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's still in prison now to this day for her murder.
Jesus.
But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, and then you've got people like Woody Allen and Roman Polanski out and about, and it's just disgusting,
Yeah, yeah.
It's so blatant. What power, what money, what status and class do, and how much they can protect you and how much of a shield they are, and they provide that sort of that safe bubble where you can do all sorts of nasty things and no one dares burst that bubble because God forbid we anger the rich, we anger the powerful.
So I'm gonna play like devil's advocate now. What would you what would you do if would that sit right with you if you were like one of his victims and you got to like this, you got all this fame and like power and whatever through having sex with one of these directors? What would you do? Would that sit right with you? Would you come out and, you know, tell everyone that you've been abused? What would you do?
Yeah, it's interesting because most of the victims that came forward are not in a position of power. Like they're all
like
underlings. They
underlings.
yeah, exactly. They didn't really gain anything from that.
Yeah, I don't, because I think it's very, very brave coming out, but a lot of people,
God.
like definitely. But say you did get to a position because you slept with a director.
So you benefited from that.
Yeah,
structure.
exactly. So knowing you didn't get it through merit, would that be something that you'd be okay with, or?
Well, I guess I'd be okay with it because I came in there knowing that, you know, this is how it's done. You know, they have the casting couch, and you know, I benefit from it. You know, and other people might benefit from it. Other people might not benefit from it, and that's, you sort of go in knowing that, I suppose. But
yeah,
I don't know how you live with yourself doing that.
Yeah, I guess
every piece of success that you have like must be an echo of that.
Yeah.
Of that deed that you did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What if it's not like the only reason that your career's elevated, but it's like part of the reason?
Oh, but you'll always doubt though. You'll always be like, oh, but am I here only because of my magical pussy, or am I here because of my acting skills? Because if you think that it's because of your acting skills, I don't think you would dip that low and go onto that casting couch.
Yeah.
Because you'd believe in yourself. I don't know.
Because a lot of women did say they were, you know, scared to say no. Yeah, because it was like, oh God, like my career's going to end and blah, blah, blah. Right. But yeah, I don't know if I was in that situation, what I would do.
Obviously I'm talking, again, this is... I'm not judging these women that did do that. Because they probably had bills to pay, they had a livelihood, this is all they knew, this is all they lived for, this was their passion. So, you know, I don't dare put myself in that position and dare to say that I know what it feels like to be that. But for me personally, I think I'd rather just quit the industry than be part of an industry that exploits women, especially women.
Yeah, it's horrible.
The vulnerable. I don't know.
I'd actually just throw up
like
if anyone like
monster.
him touched me. Yeah, it is. Oh God, gross. What a pig.
But then, if that's all you know, if that's what you live for, if acting is all you know and all you've ever wanted to do, then I guess it sucks that people have to make that decision.
I know, it does.
Do I want to pay my bills and, you know, give up my dignity and self-respect? Or do I want to just go back to this, you know, go to the streets, land on the streets without nothing? I hate men. I really hate men.
Basically, that's the moral of the story.
Basically.
Men are pigs, but no, not all of them. Some are trash.
Hashtag Jay-Z.
Oh my God, yes.
Fucking hell. Anyways, before we wrap up the show, one question. Did you ever pretend to, because you've always been, you said, exposed to the idea of class, and there's been a lot of judgment in your environment from but from a young age, in regards to class. So have you ever pretended to be higher or lower class than you actually are, just to sort of fit in and get some friends and not be bullied or anything of that?
No, you know what? No. Especially in primary school, I was always very open. Like I would have to say my social class has changed throughout the years. So I've gone from like not having much to having a lot to being kind of like in the middle. But both my parents went to uni, so everyone was always like, oh, you must be middle class because both your parents went to uni. But I'm like, no, I've known, you know, shit times and good times. I know, I've always just laid it out flat. Like, if I was like, my parents aren't making much at the moment, I'd say it. And if they were, I'd be like, yeah, we're doing all right. But I've never been arrogant about it. And in primary school, I was like, you know, this is me kind of thing. And I always kind of like just used my personality. Like, I was always like a cheeky, like, I was like a cheeky, just rude gal, and everyone was just like, yeah, whatever. Just, I never really kind of used it to like up my game or
I think that really. Like, I think a lot of times when you go through that struggle, when you do go through that sort of crisis of, you know, there is this huge discussion around class around you, around money. You just sort of build that thick skin and just make yourself yourself interesting, so it doesn't ever become about class or money in regard to you. I felt that with so many people. They just turn out to be like the funniest and wittiest and just like the most eccentric characters, because they don't want to be labelled by their background, by the money they have, by the area they live in. They want to be about themselves, and they try so hard.
And because like the mindset I have is that it's ever changing, so it doesn't form me as a person. I've always been like that. Like it's not who I am. It's not part of me at all. Like it's, you know, one day you can be rich, then you can just lose it the next day, and it's like that had nothing to do with me as a person, my morals, my values, my personality, whatever.
Absolutely.
So what about you? Have you ever pretended, been like bougie, like, yeah, girl, I'm like a millionaire, but not really?
No, same. I mean, I've just because during my upbringing, it's just never been relevant what sort of class I am, and I was never aware of the fact that I'm working class. I was just a person. Like until I moved to the UK, I didn't even know that my parents are working class. It was a label I wasn't familiar with. So after moving here, I was like, I suppose, you know, judging from the, you know, my dad has a blue collar job, my mum's worked menial job, so I suppose I'm working class. But then I'm not that. I've sort of, you know, I've just moved away from that class. I've just not moved away from that class. That sounds shitty, but it just fluctuates, doesn't it? And I think that's something I realised quite quickly once I, you know, the pretty much the moment I found out about class, I also learned that it's nothing static. It always fluctuates, always moves around, and there's no so the conclusion for me was just it shouldn't be something that defines you, because it doesn't mean anything. It can change from today to tomorrow, so it's just I've just never really been bothered about it.
Of course, same.
But however, so this is something that I came across quite a while back, but I just sort of dug it up because of today's podcast, and because I do brilliant research.
Okay.
But that's neofab. Oh my god.
Oh, that came out so naturally. But
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you follow the stories, but so a few months back there was a story about these Oxbridge kids that obviously come from a very privileged background, but they pretended to be working class. They sort of, you know, they were the tracksuit bottoms tucked into their socks. They adopted like a very North London slang and started acting like they come from a very working class and humble background, just to sort of cover up their actual background, to cover up any criticism that comes towards that background. And they sort of fetishized and appropriated that class culture.
Okay.
Which I just found so strange.
That is really, really odd.
These rich people pretending to be poor, pretending to come from a poor background, just so others...
Just to fit in. To be fair, like, I do find Oxford students quite intimidating sometimes. Like, I would be like, oh God, I'd rather hang out with the guy that, like, I don't know, washes the dishes for, like, Weatherspoons. Like, I don't know, sometimes I'm a bit like, oh God, okay, what is this going to be like? What is this encounter going to be like? Which is bad. I shouldn't think like that. But I guess, if they're dressing up, it makes them a bit more, I mean, like, dressing down, it makes them a bit more approachable, maybe. Because we do stereotype, we can't help it sometimes. And
I think there's two parts to this story. I think there's one part that sort of, you know, these days there's a lot of persecution of the you know, the upper middle class or the upper class, people blaming them for all the bad in the world, and, you know, be that right or wrong, that's another matter, but they do face a lot of criticism. So they want to sort of escape that, and they want to sort of pretend like, oh, you know, I'm actually not part of the problem. I'm actually one of you. I'm also struggling. Please don't treat me badly. But the other coin, the other side of the coin is that they are actually culturally appropriating a class, and they are to an extent mocking that class by sort of playing pretend and playing
I see
sort
that. That's crazy. I didn't think you could culturally appropriate a lower class. Always thought it
Well,
was
if
like...
it benefits you, of course you can. You can do it with anything, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, the concept is so strange because I'm always used to it being related to race.
Yeah.
So class is a bit
yeah.
like, okay, interesting. Yeah, you can do that.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Enlightening for show. I'm definitely gonna like dress down and just like try to fit in to other classes.
Yeah, because you dress so classy, bitch.
I know.
Yeah.
I literally dress like such a hobo
You've got like the
on
same pair of
weekdays.
jeans and tops that
I
you
know.
like wash every 2 weeks.
I know. Primani, darling. But not much
But,
to
yeah.
adjust to there. But anyways, okay.
It's
so
interesting that we're sort of seeing that movement from admiring the rich people to now criticizing the rich people. But
that's very true. Yeah.
at the same time, are we really criticizing them? Are we really hating that one class? Because here we are, we elected fucking Donald Trump for president. We've got a Tory government. Like, are we really that suspicious and that against the top 1%, or sort of
Nah.
no? And here we are celebrating, the Queen's anniversary, and Harry and Meghan getting married, and
Yeah, I know. It just shows you how fickle everyone really is. Like when it's convenient and fun, it's like whatever.
yeah, exactly.
And then
when
the
it's
next
convenient.
day, it's just a different story altogether.
It is, yeah.
But anyways, good luck to us all.
Good luck to us all. This is yeah. Today's episode is just one of those episodes where you're just like, it's a bit hopeless and it's just a bit
It's
depressing.
all shit.
But we're trying to make fun of it because that's really the only way to go, I mean, it's all shit. Politics is shit, celebrity culture is shit. But, hey, don't forget to have a laugh because, what's
Exactly.
life about if you can't just
Exactly.
take it easy and just
Fuck
have
the
a laugh.
man and social
Fuck the man,
status.
fuck the woman, just take care of yourself, man. Get drunk, have a good time.
Yeah, live your best life, man.
Live
so-
and let live. Live.
Definitely,
and let
that is my
bloody
motto
live.
in life.
Yes.
So anyways, should we wrap up for today?
We should indeed. I think we've talked for quite a while.
We have, man. We have. We don't want to burn your ears off, but
absolutely parched, yeah.
but yeah. So thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you found it interesting.
Merci beaucoup, fellas.
So yeah, I mean, I guess our message is to be kind, don't be greedy, don't take advantage of an underling, and exploit them sexually, and share all your riches. And
Share your riches.
share them all,
Don't
throw them
share
all
your
out the
penis.
window. No. And as per usual, if you want to get in contact or give us some feedback or whatever, ask us about belly buttons, please be kind, do get in contact. Our
Yes.
email is mostmosaic@gmail.com, and Twitter.
And if you are one of the richer ones who wants to take advantage of us to give us a chance in the podcasting world, we might have talked big words during this episode, but you know what? If the right opportunity comes along, we might just hop on board.
Stop backpedaling. Shut up. It's been done now. So yeah, go on, tweet us, you rich sexy mofos out there. Twitter is most_mosaic. And obviously if you don't want anything to do with us, that's also fine as well. So yeah, join us next
Yes.
week for our next podcast. But thanks for listening, guys.
Thank
And
you.
see you next week.